Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I am here at Southern Grace Coffee. The Sweet Caroline, that one's my favorite. But anyway, I'm here just want to highlight this. It's a local coffee place that my wife and I really enjoy. And one of the unique things is, as you'll see in some of this video, they've taken an old house and converted it to a sweet little coffee shop. And so all the bedrooms have been converted to be little meeting spaces. You can meet up with friends and whatnot. And it is a really cool little venue. And so I encourage you to come take a look. But today in real estate, we're going to be talking about finding an agent. Now, of course, I'm going to be biased, maybe, because I'm a real estate agent, right? But in reality, most of us don't, I won't say most of us, a lot of people just don't, they're not do-it-yourselfers, right? There's little things that we know we can fix on our body. We get a cut or whatever. Some of us rely on duct tape too much for a cut rather than going to the doctor and getting stitches or whatever. But there's a lot of things that we need to go to the doctor to be diagnosed, to get things figured out. Same thing with our cars. We need to take them to a mechanic and get things figured out. And you go to a lawyer for an estate. They have a will drawn up. But some people like to do it themselves, and cool, all right. But I want to talk about why you should probably get a real estate agent, but also how do you find one? How do you get a good real estate agent? And so first off, though, what is a real estate agent? Now, technically, in most areas now, we're all called brokers. Right. The head of a firm is called the managing broker. Sometimes there'll be a designated broker. And in Tennessee, we are associate brokers and brokers. So the term agent isn't necessarily used as often as maybe it used to be. And so in a real estate transaction, you have the listing broker. They're the one who lists the home for sale, works with the seller. You have the selling broker. They're the one who works with the buyer. So you'll hear terms like buyer's agent, buyer's broker, selling agent, selling broker. Okay, those are all the people that work with the buyer. It's all that's many titles for one person. On the other side, it's usually just listing broker or the listing agent. So every broker that is in a firm works under the managing broker. And so technically that managing broker, in a sense, represents everybody. So they don't really, it's kind of a thing because we're independent contractors, and there's a lot of, I'll say maybe some convoluted legalese and things that happen in there. But the managing broker has other training and licensing that is required for them to be a managing broker. And typically, they're in charge then of like the auditing and all the legal stuff, and all the other brokers under them are really the ones doing business. The managing broker sometimes will be out doing business as well, but they're responsible for like new brokers, making sure that their files are all correct and things like that. Now you may see a term for a real estate team, the Better Best Sells Homes team or whatever. Okay, a team is not necessarily a different office. A team is a group of agents that are working together. Usually there's one that's maybe in charge and others work for them, but they're all under a managing broker. So I don't want you to be confused by that necessarily. That team, they're all going to be working together. So you might work with a buyer's agent that's under this other person who's actually under the managing broker. There's pros and cons to working with a team versus an individual agent. They're all kind of different things going on there. But when you sign a listing agreement or a buyer's agency agreement, you're signing that agreement with the firm, and then it will say something to the effect of the firm appoints John Smith to represent you, the buyer. So whoever the broker is that you decide you want to work with, let's say you want to work with me, it would say that the firm appoints Ben Lunsford to represent you, whatever your name is. So you're being represented by both the agent and the firm, okay? And If something ever happens to the agent, then the firm takes over. So that managing broker, that's part of his responsibility. So hypothetically, we're going through a transaction and I become incapacitated. I get hit by a car and I'm paralyzed and I'm in the hospital. Oh no, what happens to your transaction? Okay, you call the office. Hey, office, my agent got hit by a car while showing homes and he's in the hospital. What do we do? The managing broker takes over. They have all that paperwork. They have everything there. That's part of their responsibility. And so that's why there's kind of these dual layers of protection if something happens there. You do not call the managing broker to ask them to assign you an agent, right? So you wouldn't call your local Keller Williams office or Remax office or whatever, okay? You wouldn't call that office and say, I need you to give me a real estate agent, please. I mean, you could. I don't think that's the best way to do it, but that isn't what they do. They're really there to make sure that things are done legally. That's what the managing broker does. So now that we know like what a broker is, why do you need one? All right, can't you just call the listing agent on a home and say, "Hey, I want to see this home," and have them show you the home and write everything up and do everything? You could, but as we were just discussing, okay, the seller has a listing agreement with that agent. That agent has a fiduciary responsibility to the seller, okay? That means that they're looking out for the seller's best financial interest. So, does that mean that they're going to be forthright and honest with you? They're supposed to be. Now, at the same time, they don't give you any extra information. The seller might have told them, oh, we really need to sell, and our bottom line price is $400,000. And so if someone offers that, we just need to take it and go. They don't tell you any of that information. They say the listing price is $425,000. What would you like to offer? Well, what are other homes going for in the area? What would you like to offer? Right? They don't give you comps. They're not gonna do any of that. They'll say, you tell me what you want to offer, I'll write it up. So next thing you know, you're writing up an offer for, well, they're asking $425,000. Let's see if we can get a little bit less. $420,000. You just paid $20,000 more than what the seller was willing to take, and you never really looked at the comps. No, you didn't. You're not really being represented, right? The sellers or the listing agent is looking out for the seller. They're not looking out for you. And so, when it comes to the inspection, the listing agent is not going to negotiate for you. When things come up, they're not going to do anything for you because they're not looking out for your interest. If you look at home number 1 with this listing agent, and then you go to this listing agent, look at their home number 2, and then this one for number 3, and this one for number 4. Next thing you know, you've looked at 15 homes. Who's there to help you compare these homes in a somewhat unbiased way? Going through the home buying process is a very emotional process because there's stress of, oh, you're selling your other house and you got to be here because of your job, and the kids are angry because we're moving, or parents just died and now we're moving, and or whatever the case may be. There's stress and emotion involved. You need someone who doesn't have that same stress and emotion to kind of help you process and think through, well, this one had the yard that you were looking for. Is that still what's most important to you? Oh, you're right. I forgot about that, right? So you need someone that can talk to you and can help you work through all those different homes. And comparing homes is just such an important aspect, because this home selling for $400,000 versus this one selling for $415,000, you can't just sit there and go, oh, well, this one's cheaper. Well, there's reasons that it's cheaper, probably, right? And so you need someone that can help you work through those things. Your agent shouldn't have any emotional attachment to the home or the outcome. They're there simply to help you process and represent you and your fiduciary interest. They're there to make sure you're getting the most out of the sale. Your agent can be and should be working proactively for you. Okay. Like, I mean, I've gone out door to door knocking on homes in neighborhoods that my clients were interested in, right? I mean, a buyer's agent should be proactive in trying to find properties for you, right? I'm sure you don't want to be out going door to door, knocking in neighborhoods. Hey, excuse me, are you thinking about selling your house? Because I want to buy a house, right? I'm sure you don't have time to do that if you're working, right? When are you going to do that? You're going to get off work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and you're going to go out and go door knock at 8:45. You're going to go Saturday, your day off? Probably not. Right now, I'm not saying that door knocking is required for every single buyer or every single thing, but sometimes there's that neighborhood that you really like. You find that it's a good neighborhood, right pricing and everything, but there's nothing for sale right now. Well, an agent, buyer's agent who's representing you and working for you should be proactive, right? In some way or another, trying to find that property for you. And so lastly, but also firstly, they should educate you, right? What is the buying process like? What's happening with the market? Is there a shift happening? What's a strong offer? You know, and I was in Seattle for most of my life, and it's interesting because what was happening in the Puget Sound was happening here in Knoxville area too, but at a whole different scale. Meaning in the Puget Sound area, that literally people were going 50,000 over on a $450,000 home. They were going $500,000 and waiving the appraisal. That means that if it came in under $500,000, they would bring extra cash to the table. Okay, that kind of thing wasn't happening the same way here. People were going 15,000 over and not necessarily waiving the appraisal. They were waiving inspections, but not necessarily the appraisals. I saw homes in Puget Sound go 100,000 over and waiving appraisals, right? And so what's happening in Washington is different than what's happening in Tennessee, which is different than what's happening in California or New York. And so if you're moving out of state, you need to, or even across the state, sometimes what's happening across the states is different. You need an agent who's going to educate you and help you understand what's happening in the market right now. As an example, I can tell you what's happening in this market right now at the time of recording is it's sideways. There's data markers that are saying it's a seller's market, and there's data markers that are saying it's a buyer's market. But then there's data markers that are saying, we're just kind of in the middle. And so all that put together tells me we're just sideways. That you know, it's not up, it's not down, and that's the market. That's not prices, that's not inventory, that's not any of those things. It's the market as a whole. It's just kind of sideways. So what do you do with that information? That's what your agent should be able to do, is educate you and help you to understand, based on market conditions, this is how we ought to be writing our offer. This is how we ought to be looking for homes. So how do you find a great agent as a buyer, right? Referrals can be good. So if you have a friend who just bought a home or bought a home in the past, you know, they may have a good agent that they refer to you. You know, talk to them, see who they like. But keep in mind, we all have different personalities. Some of you watching this video are going to say, dang, Ben, I do not like you, right? You don't like my personality. You don't like, I don't know, the way I'm carrying myself. You don't like the way I do my videos, whatever. Others of you are going to be like, dang, man, I really connect with you. You're awesome, right? Okay, we all have those people. Real estate agents are the same, okay? So just because your parents referred somebody or your best friend referred somebody doesn't mean they're going to be the right agent for you. They could be, but it doesn't mean they will be. And so interview them. Take the time to talk to the agent. Let them know you're interviewing an agent or interviewing for agents to help them. So you need someone to, so that's the referral part of it. But when you're talking to an agent, number one, connection. You need somebody that you click with, somebody that you feel gets you and what you're trying to do. You're going to go through ups and downs. Every transaction has turbulence. Every single real estate transaction has issues. You're going to go through emotional highs. You're going to get a phone call from your agent. You're like, hey, there's a problem. And it's going to freak you out. You need an agent that you can trust to make the phone call, be blunt with you, be honest with you, communicate with you in the right way, right? But you need someone who's not going to get annoyed with you. If you connect with them, they're not going to be annoyed with you, right? We all have personality traits that annoy other people, right? Okay, we all have them. So you need to have someone you connect with. Number 2, communication. You need an agent who's going to communicate with you the way that you need. Do you like Facebook Messenger? Do you like to use WhatsApp? Do you like texting? Do you like email? Do you hate email? Do you want phone calls? How do you, and then when do you need to be communicated with? Are you slammed at work? I mean, I've had clients that worked in buildings with no windows, right? And they couldn't make phone calls during the day. They could only talk in the evening. I've had clients that were out of the country, and I had to talk to them at 10 o'clock at night because for them, that was 9 in the morning when they got their day started, and they were able to talk at that time. And so how do they communicate? Are they willing to communicate with you? Too many agents, I've come across too many agents that just don't communicate with me in a transaction or with their clients. And I've heard it over and over again. I won't waste your time talking about all my stories, but number 3, your agent needs to be available. All right. Some agents think they can work real estate part-time. They're going to work a 9-to-5 job and they're going to do this part-time, and they might do 2 or 3 sales a year. But if a home comes up, I just saw this on Reddit the other day. They're like, I texted an agent, like they're in the process of finding a buyer's agent, we'll say. Like this person showed them one home, or they met at an open house or something, and then they texted them and said, hey, this house just came on the market. We'd like to go see it. 10 hours later, they're posting on Reddit, it's been 10 hours. Are they ghosting me? Like, what's going on? I thought, right? 10 hours is too long. Now, I mean, unless you're texting at 10 p.m., right? But if a home just comes on the market, typically that means you're seeing it at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, right? I can tell you, if my client says, hey, this just came on the market, I really want to go see it, I'm going, okay, let's go take a look at it. Let me see what the scheduling is. You know, some homes want 24 hours to show, but you got to communicate that. Some homes are vacant. You go see it right away. You know, so too many agents just don't communicate very well in that regard, and they're not available to communicate for some reason or another. It's not ideal to work with somebody who's part-time in that way, because also maybe you have Tuesdays off. I mean, I've had clients that they worked swing shift, and they worked like I want to say it was like Tuesday through Saturday. So they had Mondays off, and during the week they were available until noon. I mean, we were looking at homes at 9:30 in the morning, right? 10 o'clock. And so if you've got someone who's got a 9-to-5 job or whatever, it's hard to do real estate part-time in that way. But also some agents, I talked about teams earlier, they don't really have time for you. You might talk to this one agent, and then they'll pass you off to someone else, and then someone else is emailing you property. You never really know who you're talking to. And I kind of think it's important to have that communication, know who you're talking to and know who gets you. But again, some teams are run really well, some teams are not, but you need someone who's going to be available to talk to you, to show you homes on Saturday, to show you homes at 7 o'clock in the evening after you get off work. You need someone who has that availability, because there's no real signs of the market being so slow that you can wait a week to look at a home, right? Or wait 4 days to look at a home. Some of them you can, for sure, okay? But I digress. Your agent shouldn't have, speaking of availability and communication still, your agent should not have a full voicemail inbox. That's definitely happened, I'll say dozens of times. So that's not a lot relative to the number of agents I've called trying to show homes or whatever. But I've literally texted an agent, hey, I want to put an offer on your property. I've got a couple questions. I get no call. The next day I'm calling them and they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's how they answer the phone. Yeah. Right, okay. Are you available for me to put an offer on your property? They need to be answered promptly. When someone has on their voicemail, return their call. I'll return your call ASAP. What does that mean? And then you don't get a call back for 2 days? Are they available? No. So with that, though, there's a caveat here. Even real estate agents need a day off. Okay, so, but it comes back to communication. I communicate with my clients that I do my best to reserve Sunday as a family day. Now, there are times when property comes up, we got to go check this home out. Okay, let's go Sunday afternoon, let's get it written up before anybody else gets there, right? But for the most part, that's what I like to do. I like to reserve Sunday as a family day, and I let people know that right up front. It's communication about my availability. So you need to have that conversation. Do you connect with them? Are they communicating well with you? What is their availability? The last one, I'm going to say dedication. They ought to truly be working for you, right? Not just waiting for something to come along. If you're the one always sending properties to your agent, you're always sending them something. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. And they never send you a property. They're never reaching out to you saying, hey, what do you think about this? I have to question their dedication to helping you. Now, that being said, most home buyers are looking at things constantly, right? You're on Zillow like every minute of every day. And so, scrolling, looking at Zillow. Well, I wonder if Realtor.com has anything that Zillow doesn't have. And I wonder if Redfin's got anything that they don't have. You're constantly looking at all those things. You have a little bit different mindset. So you're probably going to send them properties, which is totally fine. But they should be sending properties to you also, and be helping you to think through maybe some different options, maybe things you didn't think about, maybe a little bit different area, maybe a little different type of property, and just trying to get creative and trying to help you move along. And so it's entirely possible, that new properties come up and you see it first because you're just sitting there, on your phone, and they're in an appointment. They've got another buyer they're working with. Most agents don't have just one buyer at a time or one seller at a time. Most of them have maybe 1 or 2, 3 that they're working with. So keep that in mind. So just because someone referred an agent to you doesn't mean they're going to be a right fit for you. And now you may be wondering, amidst all this, well, how does an agent get paid? Because, you're thinking about all this time or different things. And I'm going to talk about commission in the next video. So we're not going to get into that real deep right here, right now. But I do hope that this video empowers you to ask some great questions about connection and communication and availability and their dedication. And I hope it empowers you to take the next steps in building your net worth through real estate. And if you're in the greater Knoxville area and you want to have a conversation, I'm more than happy to sit down with you, grab coffee. You're in Maryville, we can come to Southern Grace, but we can meet up and just have a real conversation and a consultation about what to expect through the process and how you best can be equipped to make the best decision for you and your family when it comes to buying a home. So thanks again for watching, and I hope this information has been good. I will see you again on the next video. Have a good day.